This pilot is out of control and confused about why his glider collapses 5 times in 30 seconds. Today, I'm going to break down the video, show you what he does wrong, so you can keep this from happening to you. Are you ready? Here we go.
See ya.
I'm paragliding!
See ya! What's up, everybody? This is Ari in the air. Welcome back to the channel. Stoked you're here. If you're new, welcome. I'm Ari. I teach high-level paragliding with emotional intelligence and relationship skills because technical skills alone make incomplete pilots. I also founded the Paragliding Men's Group, and I'm running an online paragliding course this fall, which you'll hear about here soon. Links in the description. Let's get into this video. I'm going to show it to you one time, just all the way through, and then we'll go back and break it down. Okay, so here he is. He's flying. He's got a cool camera set up. He's somewhere in Italy. Oh, 70% collapse. Not sure why. Oh, another collapse. A lot of roll energy. Some things happening in his piloting that I'm noticing right away. Ooh, big collapse. Now he's auto-rotating. Oh, now he's got a lot of energy in the system. Huge accidental wing over, complete and total frontal. Big cravat, auto-rotating. Steers away from the cliff. Resets his sunglasses. Pumping the brake, pumping the brake, pumping the brake. Reaches up for a little stabilo action. Actually, he's kind of pulling on the A, which probably is not doing much there. He's shaking the risers and it comes out. And finally adjust the sunglasses once again. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so this is from a guy who I follow on Instagram. So many people sent me this video, and it is pretty spectacular. First of all, where is he? I think this right here, just over his, let me pause it. Just over his left shoulder right here, this big cliff. I recognize this. This is Monte Brento. This is probably the most famous terminal base jumping exit in the world right here. Gigantic. I've been there twice, but the weather never lined up for me to jump. This is just outside Lake Garda. So if he turns this way, you can see, yeah, here in the distance, you see Lake Garda, Arco, Italy. Beautiful place. Incredible. Just incredible. And the place is going to play into this video here. Let me just cut right to the chase here. What he's doing wrong, he's already doing wrong. You see, his left hand here is on the brake. He has a half wrap. He's holding the brakes correctly. It seems like the equipment is adequate for his skill level. But this right hand, you see how he's clamped on to the riser? This is not good, and we're going to see a lot of this. So big collapse. Look at the first thing that happens here. We're just going to key back. Look at his hand here. You see how he's holding the brake. The moment that the glider goes slack, here as we key through these frames, he just opens his hand and reaches for the riser. See that? Where what should you do if the glider starts collapsing? The hand doesn't come towards the riser. The hand goes down. Pull the brake, okay? Playing from here, he reaches for the riser, doesn't get it, reaches for the riser a second time, gets a hold of it. See, now he's holding on to it. He's pulling on the other brake, quickly clamps back onto the riser. Clamped onto the riser. Riser clamp, clamp, clamp. He's clamped onto the riser. This is a horrible habit. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. In general, I think that unless you have 1,000 flight hours, you should really try to avoid touching the risers when you're pulling on the brakes. Really high-level pilots, when you get really used to flying, then touching the risers is not nearly as much of a problem. But building the habit when you're flying on an E and B and you're underexperienced is really, really dangerous. Okay, so this continues to happen as he goes through the video. Just starting from just watching it through, he's clamped onto the risers, collapse, reach for the risers, clamp on, pull the brake, clamp, pull the brake, clamp, clamp. Now he's gone mostly hands up and clamped onto the risers. Okay, now the glider collapses again. He doesn't The problem with holding onto the risers is that it puts the force into your hands and connects you with the risers, where you should be pulling down on the brake slightly to be able to feel the brake tension at all times, because changes in the glider are going to translate through changes in the brake line tension. So you need to be holding a little bit of pressure on the brake line so that you can feel, oh, the glider's collapsing, or the glider's getting soft, or the glider's getting really stiff. All of these things you feel through the brake lines. And if you clamp onto the risers with with your brake hands, right? If you put your hands through the brakes and clamp onto the lines, the risers, you lose all of this information that's coming from the glider. So the other thing that it stops you from doing is really radically pulling on the brakes. So many times when you need to catch a big collapse, the brakes need to go from totally hands up to below the seat board in less than a second and be let up right after that. So if you have any kind of connection to the risers, it's really just makes it so much harder for you to do what you need to do. So that's basically the error that he makes that gets him into the situation. And if I were to elaborate on this just by watching this video, he is in over his head here. He is flying midday in the Dolomites. This is the Brent Dolomites. And it's clear by his outcome in the video that his level of glider control does not meet the situation that he's in. And I don't know this person. I don't know how much he's flown. I'm just saying if he's clamping onto the risers and the glider is collapsing out of control over and over again, like he's in over his head. That's just it. So there's definitely some decision making here that I can't know exactly about, what his tendencies are, or who he is, or what kind of advice he's gotten, or who his mentors are, or what his friend group thinks of him flying the way that he flies. But from my vantage of just seeing a video on the internet, the guy has basically lost control of the glider, right? And he's flying somewhere that's very serious, huge, gigantic cliffs. Okay. And this is the thing about the Alps. You can be a beginner in the Alps and just take a tram up Monte Baldo, launch off, and now instantly you're like in really serious terrain. There's so many places in the Alps where you can just take a simple van ride or a tram up the hill, you launch off and you take one climb and now you're instantly in very huge, rugged mountain terrain. Okay. So he takes this first collapse. Seems to recover from it. Okay, it takes a small second collapse. He's clamped onto the risers again here. He takes a third collapse. Okay, this is basically because he's flying in active air. There's some kind of big thermal ripping off right here. And he's basically just letting the glider kind of roll around willy-nilly. It's doing whatever it wants. He doesn't have any control over it. He doesn't have authoritative inputs. And so as the glider rolls over here, it rolls back. It slacks the line. All he needed here was a bunch of brake input. He should be counter steering to keep the glider on heading that he wants to go in, the heading that he wants. He doesn't do that. The glider reinflates here, okay, and now it's leading edge down, which means the glider is going to start building a lot of energy. We'll push play from here. Okay, so now he goes around 360. Okay, now he goes around 540. He just went around 540 nose down. What does that mean? The glider's got a ton of energy in it. How do you bleed out energy? Well, you have to know how to do spirals. If you're going to fly in any active air, spirals and stalls are great combo of, should I be flying in thermic air? Well, can I spiral and can I stall the glider? Those are good questions to ask yourself. This is a good example. Why? Since he doesn't know how to handle the energy that builds up because of a benign collapse. What's been the rule on this channel? Don't let the glider turn you. Don't let the glider turn you. Don't let the glider turn you. He definitely lets the glider turn him here, right? Push play, big collapse. What happens? Glider turns over, leading edge, down, 360, 540. Okay, he just let the glider turn him 540 degrees. Now he's scared and he starts taking action, but he overcorrects. And what happens? He does an inversion to the other side, loses every inch of the glider. Look at that. Pause right here. His head's through the risers. Glider is totally upside down. You see the leading edge pointing towards him. So basically, he didn't know how to handle the energy that built up. He let the glider turn him, which built the energy up. And then he did a reversal, basically taking a spiral 540 one way and then pulling the brake the other way. He does a gigantic wing over that he's not prepared to do, takes a huge collapse, which leads to this big cravat, which the glider continues to rotate. He does something good here. Look. He just learned this lesson, right? Maybe he heard the echoes of this YouTube video. Don't let the glider turn you. Don't let that. Okay, he actually leans over, starts pumping the outside brake, keeping the glider from rotating him. Okay, great job. Here, he stops to adjust his sunglasses, which give him style points. And honestly, the glider's flying again, and his sunglasses were hanging off his face. They're nice ones, so he took a second. No, I don't fault him for that. And then he starts pumping at the brake, which is going to work. Then he kind of reaches for the A here. I don't think that's the line that he wanted. If you're going to reach up for something, I've talked about this a lot, but in general, the brake should be your first go-to, and this cravat will clear on this glider with just the brake, and you could make a couple deeper, sharper inputs after controlling the heading. But in general, he pumps it out and he's a bit frantic, but he jiggles the riser and it comes out okay. Then he adjusts his sunglasses once more. Rolling back. really, if you want to fly in active air, you really have to know how to do a spiral, because if the air collapses your glider and it spins you around 360, now you have just done a really high energy maneuver, and now you're going to have to know how to bleed that energy out. You cannot hold on to the risers flying in active air. You just can't. In general, like, this is one of the things that we've seen in this channel over and over and over. It's a bad habit, and it's a fearful habit that is developed by your body being uncomfortable in the air and you not recognizing that you have fear and tightness in your body, and your hands go to hold on to something. Okay. It's totally reasonable that our bodies do this, but we just have to notice it, and so that we can deal with the emotions that are coming up from flying, of fear and of insecurity, so that we can remind ourselves, okay, our safe place is in the brakes and feeling the glider and staying in tune with the glider, and not just by clamping on for stability. Okay. And then this moment right here just goes to show, if you let big energy into your glider, you need to know how to get big energy out of your glider safely. This is why we recommend that you do SAV before flying in XC air, because sometimes XC air can collapse the glider and give you a bunch of energy that you may or may not know how to deal with. And so in this case, he did not know how to deal with the amount of energy that he had, or he mismanaged it and got really lucky, because honestly, this kind of collapse event here, where you're passing by your glider while its leading edge is showing itself to you, can result in such nasty cravats that a reserve deployment was guaranteed. He would have landed on this really steep granite talus, and, luckily the base jumping community here is pretty versed in rescues from this particular spot, but you don't want to rely on that, do you? So the reality is that this kind of collapse could happen to you tomorrow. The difference between handling it well and flying away and ending up in the ER, some kind of injury or fear injury, is all in preparation. If this analysis opened your eyes to your own gaps in preparation, you're not alone. And this is why I'm running the Integrated Pilot, a live online paragliding course this fall. We're going to cover all the emergency skills that actually matter, plus the decision-making frameworks and mindset skills that keep you in flying situations that you can handle and out of situations that you can't handle, and knowing the difference. It's 3 Sundays in October, only $297. Links in the description below. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks so much to this guy, Sky High Dopamine, for sharing this video and letting us break it down for our learning. We'll see you on the next episode.